Hello everyone and welcome back to Coronation Street Official today, the place where Weatherfield's biggest moment get the deep dive they truly deserve. Today, we are cracking open one of the most emotionally raw tension-soaked storylines the couples have served us in a long time. And if you are not buckled in, I strongly suggest you to do that right now. Coronation Street has never been a show that shies away from drama. But what we have just witnessed with Will's shocking attack and the devastating aftermath that followed, particularly the explosive confrontation between Maggie and Megan, is something that feels genuinely different in its intensity and emotional weight. This is not your average street squabble or a quick bit of back and forth dialogue outside the Rover. This is a slow burning, deeply personal collision between two women who have been circling each other with barely concealed tension for what feels like forever. And Will's attack was the single spark that finally set the whole thing ablaze. Weatherfield is shaken, relationships are fracturing, and nobody, not the characters, not us watching at home, knows exactly where this all going to land. And honestly, that uncertainty is what makes this so completely unmissable. Let's set the scene properly because context is everything with a storyline this layered when news of Will's attack first breaks across the community. The reaction is immediate and visceral. Residents are shocked, frightened, and desperate for answers. The kind of collective anxiety that Coronation Street does so brilliantly, where the entire street feels the tremors of a single traumatic event. But nobody feels those tremors more deeply or more personally than Maggie from the very second she learns about what happened to Will. Something shifts inside her. The worry is there absolutely, it would be inhuman not to feel it. But it is not long before that worry curdles into something harder, something more dangerous, anger burning, uncontainable anger, and it has a very specific target, Megan. Now, here is where it gets genuinely compelling because Maggie's suspicion of Megan does not appear out of nowhere. It has clearly been building, fed by small moments, uneasy glances, half finished conversations, and the kind of gut feeling that refuses to be argued away no matter how many times people around you urge you to calm down. Maggie is convinced, absolutely unshakably convinced, that Megan knows more than she is letting on, and I cannot overstate how much that belief drives her. It transforms her. She is not just a worried friend or family member anymore. She becomes someone on a mission, and missions like this, fueled by emotion rather than evidence, can be incredibly dangerous. Meanwhile, on the other side of this building storm, there is Megan, and I want us to spend a moment really thinking about what it feels like to be in Megan's position here. Because it would be easy to dismiss her as simply a suspect or a guilty party. But the reality is so much more complicated than that. She's under a microscope, every word she says is being picked apart, every expression on her face is being read for clues, every move she makes is scrutinized by people who have already, in some cases, made up their minds about her guilt. That is an enormous suffocating pressure, and watching Megan try to hold herself together under the weight of it, trying to maintain composure while clearly beginning to crack, is genuinely difficult to watch. Not because she is necessarily innocent, but because the sheer human cost of being suspected, whether justifiably or not, is something the show captures with brutal honesty. When the confrontation between these two finally erupts, it does not feel like a surprise, it feels inevitable, like a dam that has been straining against too much pressure for too long. And the moment it breaks, the force of it is overwhelming. Maggie does not hold back. She comes in with accusations that are sharp and pointed and deeply personal. And what strikes me most about this scene is that it is not just about Will's attack anymore. It never really was. This confrontation is the culmination of everything. Every unspoken resentment, every buried grievance, every moment of tension that was swallowed instead of addressed. I can't believe she said some of the what she said. And yet at the same time, watching it happen, every single word makes complete sense given how long it has been building. Megan's response is not what you might expect. There is defensiveness, yes, of course there is, but there is also this raw vulnerability that breaks through in flashes. Moments where her composure slips and something much more complicated and human is revealed. Underneath, is it guilt? Is it fear? Is it the sheer exhaustion of carrying something she cannot put down? The show refuses to hand us a clean answer, and the genius of that choice cannot be overstated, because both women feel entirely real in this moment. Neither of them is a villain, neither of them is entirely in the right. They are two flawed, frightened, fiercely passionate people who have been pushed to their limits. And the collision of their pain and their history is what makes the scene crackle with such extraordinary authenticity. The dialogue throughout is extraordinary in its restraint and its power. There are words spoken that land like physical blows, and there are silences that feel even heavier than the words. Every pause is loaded, every carefully chosen phrase carries years of context, and the pacing of the scene itself, the way it builds from simmering hostility into full open confrontation, is a masterclass in dramatic storytelling that reminds you exactly why this show has been on our screen for as long as it has. Imagine sitting in that room watching these two women unleash everything they have been holding back. Imagine the suffocating tension of it, knowing that there is no going back once certain things are said out loud. The wider community is pulled into the fallout almost immediately. And this is another element of the storyline that elevates it beyond a simple two-person drama. Because Weatherfield is not just a backdrop here, it is a living, breathing community that has opinions, loyalties, and fractures of its own. Some residents align themselves firmly with Maggie, convinced that her instincts are sound and her anger is justified. Others feel a pull of sympathy toward Megan, uneasy with the idea that she is being hunted down by suspicion when the full picture is still not clear. The community divide, those shifting allegiances and conflicting loyalties, turns the whole street into a pressure cooker. And the atmosphere of distrust and unease that it creates seeps into every subsequent scene. The investigation into what actually happened to Will adds further layers of intrigue. Because just when you think you understand the shape of the story, something new emerges to complicate it, to challenge assumptions, to force everyone, characters and audience alike, to reassess everything they thought they knew. Maggie's internal journey through all of this is perhaps the most nuanced thread of the entire storyline, because even as she pursues the truth with relentless determination, there are moments where she seems to catch herself, to question whether what she is doing is righteous or whether she has crossed a line from justified concern into something more troubling. That self-awareness, even if it flickers rather than burns steadily, adds genuine complexity to her character and makes every decision she makes feel like it carries real moral weight. She is not simply the hero of the story, she is someone grappling with her own biases and her own grief, trying to do the right thing in a situation where the right thing is not clearly defined. And just when you think the storm has passed, the tension doesn't let up. Maggie's fury lingers, but underneath it, a fragile fear pulses, fear for Will, fear for herself, fear of what Megan might really be hiding. Can we ever fully know someone we think we trust? Megan's walls are cracking, but is it guilt that's breaking her, or simply exhaustion from carrying secrets too heavy to bear? The beauty of this moment is in its ambiguity. Nothing is neatly resolved, and that's exactly what keeps your heart racing. Watching them clash, I can't help but wonder, is Maggie's relentless pursuit of truth noble, or is it a dangerous obsession that could destroy more than just her own peace? And Megan, her vulnerability is real, but is she truly innocent? Or is there a deeper game at play that even she doesn't fully understand? These are the questions that Coronation Street doesn't answer outright. And that's what makes it so gripping, because real life is never simple, is it? If you look closely, this confrontation isn't just about Will's attack. It's about all the unspoken resentment, all the simmering anger, and all the fractures in Weatherfield that have been quietly shaping every interaction. Every word, every glance carries weight, and the ripple effect is only just beginning. Could this be the moment that finally changes the dynamics of the street forever? I personally think we're about to see alliances shift, secrets exposed, and relationships tested like never before. Maggie may be on the verge of a revelation that will shake her to her core, and Megan could be forced into choices that leave her questioning who she really is. The next episodes, I have a feeling nothing will ever feel the same again. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Whose side are you on, Maggie's or Megan's? And don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to Coronation Street Official today, so you never miss a moment of the drama.